First Contact and Resistance. The Craxis Empire's warships blackened the skies of yet another conquered world. Their obsidian vessels, like massive predatory birds, hovered over the burning capital city of Neloria. Admiral Verog stood on the command deck, his scaled skin reflecting the glow of tactical displays as reports of the planet's surrender streamed in. Another world falls to the glory of Craxis, his second-in-command observed. Verog's facial ridges tensed in what passed for a smile among his species. They always do. 15,000 years of conquest, and not one species has truly challenged us. The Craxis had emerged from their harsh desert homeworld millennia ago, evolving into perfect conquerors, methodical, hierarchical, and utterly ruthless. With technology that bordered on magical to lesser species, they had systematically expanded their empire across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their philosophy was simple: all other life existed to serve Craxis. Resistance wasn't just futile, it was unthinkable. Unthinkable until they detected signals from an uncharted system in a backwater region of the Orion Arm. Dr. Elena Sharma peered through her telescope at the observatory in Chile's Atacama Desert. At 43, she had dedicated her life to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Years of broadcasting signals into the cosmos, of listening for any response, had yielded nothing but government funding cuts and pitying looks from colleagues. Tonight was different. "I'm telling you, Carlos, this isn't random noise," she insisted to her research assistant. "These patterns repeat with variations that suggest language, not natural phenomena." Carlos adjusted his glasses, staring at the computer display. "If you're right, then." A blinding light flashed across the night sky, so bright that the observatory's automated systems instantly dimmed the windows. Elena rushed outside, her heart pounding as she watched what appeared to be a meteor streaking toward the mountains to the east. But meteors didn't change direction mid-flight. The crash site was cordoned off within hours. Elena, having tracked the anomaly's trajectory, arrived before the military did, finding herself face to face with something impossible: a spacecraft of clearly non-human design. Its sleek, iridescent hull was damaged, but largely intact, and a section had split open upon impact. More impossible still was the being that crawled from the wreckage. Humanoid but clearly alien, with translucent blue skin that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent patterns. It stood, staggered, then collapsed at Elena's feet. "Please," it said in heavily accented English. "They're coming." By the time the military helicopters thundered overhead, Elena had made a decision that would alter the course of human history. She had helped the alien into her jeep and driven away from the crash site. The alien, who called himself Neri, was a refugee, the last survivor of a diplomatic mission from something called the Resistance Collective. Within 48 hours, Elena found herself in a Pentagon briefing room, facing grim-faced generals and ashen-faced politicians, as Neri explained humanity's situation. The Craxis Empire dominates half the galaxy. Neri's voice was stronger now, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into clear English. They have conquered thousands of worlds over 15 millennia. Their technological advancement is substantial. "Why come to us?" asked General Williams, his weathered face betraying nothing. "We've barely left our own solar system." "Because you are still unknown to them," Neri replied. "They've only detected your radio signals, and because you possess something rare, unpredictability." Neri explained how the Craxis operated with methodical precision. Their conquest followed the same pattern with every world: detection, contact, ultimatum, demonstration of force, then total subjugation. They categorized species based on utility: warriors, workers, or resources to be harvested. "And what would we be?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Your physiology is unimpressive to them, but your cognitive abilities would mark you as workers, engineers, scientists, developing technology for Craxis' benefit." "Like hell," muttered General Williams. A faint pattern of light rippled across Neri's skin, their equivalent of a smile. Precisely. That response, That defiance despite overwhelming odds is unusual. Most species submit after seeing Craxus' power. The few that resist follow predictable strategies. You humans, you're different. You create, you adapt, you try solutions no rational species would consider. You make us sound crazy, Alina said. Perhaps that's what the galaxy needs. The next 3 months transformed Earth in ways previously unimaginable. Governments worldwide united with unprecedented cooperation. Ancient enemies shared resources and information as Neri helped humanity prepare. Using salvage technology from Neri's ship, Earth scientists made quantum leaps in weapons development, shield technology, and propulsion systems. What would have taken centuries of research was compressed into weeks. Alina worked alongside Neri, learning about the other resistant species, mostly survivors of conquered worlds who had escaped, and formed a scattered, desperate alliance. The resistance had been fighting a losing battle for centuries, their forces dwindling with each engagement. The Craxus are coming to Earth regardless, Neri explained one night as they worked. But if humanity can stand against them, even briefly, it would inspire other worlds. The Empire's hold is based on fear and the belief that resistance is impossible. Reports from hastily constructed deep space monitoring stations confirmed Neri's warning. A Craxus scout fleet, 5 massive warships, was approaching the solar system. They would reach Earth in 2 weeks. General Williams oversaw the Global Defense Initiative. Based on Neri's intelligence about Craxus tactics, they knew a standard military response would fail. The Craxus expected resistance to follow certain patterns: conventional warfare, desperate diplomacy, or attempted surrender. Their strategies were designed to counter these approaches with ruthless efficiency. "So we don't do what they expect," Williams stated during the final planning session. "We use what makes us human: our chaos, our creativity." Dr. Lai Weisheng, China's leading quantum physicist, presented his team's findings. "We've discovered something interesting about Craxus shield technology. Their ships generate phase-shifted energy fields that are nearly impenetrable to conventional weapons. However," he smiled, "their systems are calibrated to specific frequencies. If we rapidly modulate our attacks across multiple frequencies simultaneously, we might break through." Similar breakthroughs emerged from labs worldwide. Russian engineers developed jammers that could disrupt Craxus communications. Brazilian scientists created a virus that might infiltrate their ship systems. Indian mathematicians identified patterns in Craxus battle formations that revealed potential vulnerabilities. None of these solutions alone would defeat the Craxus, but together they represented something the Empire had never faced: unpredictable, multi-vector attacks from a species that refused to follow the rules of engagement. As the deadline approached, humanity prepared not just technologically but psychologically. The world knew what was coming. Instead of panic, there was resolve. Humanity stood united, not in false hope, but in determination to defy the cosmic bullies, even if it meant going down fighting. The morning the Craxus fleet entered Earth orbit, they broadcast their message to every screen and speaker on the planet. "People of Earth, this is Admiral Verox of the Craxus Empire. Your world is now under our jurisdiction. Submit, and you will serve a greater purpose than your primitive existence has allowed. Resist, and you will be made an example for other worlds. You have 6 hours to present your planetary leaders for processing." Elena stood in the Pentagon's command center beside Neri, watching the alien's face on the massive screen. Neri's skin had paled to a ghostly translucence. "That's him," he whispered. "Verox, the butcher of the Cygnus arm. He destroyed my homeworld." General Williams stepped forward. "Well, he's in for a surprise. Humanity doesn't process well." The 6-hour deadline passed without response from Earth. The Craxus, following their standard protocol, launched a demonstration strike, a precision attack meant to destroy a major city. Their target: Tokyo. As the Craxus weapon platforms powered up, Japan's countermeasure system activated. Thousands of small drones, each carrying a frequency modulator, swarmed toward the Craxus ships. The alien weapons fired, but the beams scattered, deflected by the rapidly shifting frequency patterns. For the first time in recorded history, a Craxus demonstration strike had failed. On his command ship, Admiral Verox received the impossible report. "Inconceivable," he hissed. "Launch secondary platforms. Target their defensive installations." But as the Craxus ships repositioned, they encountered more anomalies. Their communication systems suddenly flooded with nonsensical signals, millions of contradictory messages and false commands. Their navigation systems detected phantom objects appearing and disappearing around the planet. "Sir," his second reported, "we're detecting energy signatures launching from the planet's surface. Earth's first wave of modified missiles, carrying warheads enhanced with Nere's technology, streaked toward the Craxus fleet. They didn't follow predictable trajectories, but instead zigzagged erratically, making them nearly impossible to track. The Craxus point defense systems, designed to counter logical attack patterns, struggled to adapt. Several missiles impacted against their shields, detonating in spectacular bursts that momentarily overloaded the energy fields. Admiral Verox slammed his fist against his command console. "Impossible. They're primitives. How are they doing this?" The answer, of course, was human unpredictability. What the Craxus saw as primitive chaos was actually humanity's greatest strength. Earth's defenders didn't follow the rulebook because they had never read it. They improvised, adapted, and used every trick they could imagine. As the first day of battle ended, the Craxus had failed to destroy a single major target on Earth. Their mighty fleet remained in orbit, shields damaged but intact, preparing for a full invasion. But for the first time, Admiral Verox felt something unfamiliar: doubt. On Earth, despite their initial success, humanity knew the real test was yet to come. The Craxus would adapt. They would return with greater force. This was only the beginning. "We've surprised them," Neri said, his skin patterns glowing with renewed hope. "No species has ever survived the first wave of a Craxus assault." Elena watched the monitors tracking the alien fleet. "Then we'd better make sure we surprise them even more in round 2. The unconventional victory." Admiral Verox paced the command deck, his clawed feet clicking against the metallic floor. For the first time in his 3-century military career, he faced a species that had survived initial contact. It was unsettling. "The Emperor demands explanation," his communications officer reported. "A full invasion force is being dispatched from the Proxima sector." Verox hissed through his fangs. "Tell the Emperor I will subjugate these humans before reinforcements arrive. Their primitive resistance is merely unexpected." But privately, he wondered. There was something about these humans. Their tactics defied prediction. They attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously, with seemingly no coordinated strategy. Yet somehow their chaos coalesced into effective defense. The invasion couldn't wait. Verox ordered immediate deployment of ground forces. On Earth, celebration of the initial victory quickly gave way to preparation for the ground assault. Military bases worldwide converted to production facilities for the new hybrid weapons. Civilians trained in guerrilla tactics, and in laboratories across the planet, scientists worked feverishly to understand more about Craxus biology and technology. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, a neurobiologist from Argentina, made the first breakthrough. Studying tissue samples from damaged Craxus drones, she discovered something remarkable about their neural structure. "They have a hive mind component," she explained to Elena and the Defense Council. "Not complete, they maintain individuality, but their brains are partially networked through quantum entanglement. It gives them incredible coordination, but makes them vulnerable to cascading system failures." "Meaning what, exactly?" General Williams asked. "Meaning if we can disrupt one Craxus brain pattern significantly enough, it might create a ripple effect through their entire command structure." Neri's skin flashed with excitement. This explains so much about their conquest strategy, why they're so effective yet so rigid. Their networked minds accelerate decision-making, but constrain creative thinking. The implications were enormous. Humanity couldn't match Craxus' firepower, but perhaps they could attack the Empire's very thought process. Meanwhile, in remote Kazakhstan, Dr. Ivan Petrov had been studying the Craxus communication frequencies. They use quantum resonance patterns, he reported. Highly secure, impossible to jam completely. But we might be able to introduce subtle errors into their transmissions. These discoveries informed a new strategy, one that played directly to human strengths. Instead of trying to defeat the Craxus through conventional warfare, humanity would wage psychological warfare on an unprecedented scale. The Craxus ground invasion began at dawn. Dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing in strategic locations across 6 continents. The elite Craxus warriors, in exoskeletal battle armor that amplified their already formidable physical abilities, emerged ready for conquest. What they encountered defied all their battle simulations. In North America, Craxus forces advancing on Chicago were met not with military resistance, but with thousands of autonomous vehicles driving in seemingly random patterns, creating an impenetrable traffic jam. When the Craxus attempted to destroy the vehicles, they discovered each contained a small EMP device, calibrated to the frequency of Craxus armor systems. In Eastern Europe, Craxus troops found villages completely abandoned, except for millions of small speakers playing overlapping human voices at specific frequencies designed to interfere with Craxus neural networking. In Southeast Asia, drones released pheromone compounds that mimicked Craxus command signals, causing confusion among ground troops who received contradictory sensory information. None of these tactics alone could defeat the invaders, but together they created an environment of constant disruption that prevented the Craxus from establishing control. Admiral Verox received increasingly agitated reports from his ground commanders. "The humans don't fight properly," one frustrated captain complained. "They retreat when they should advance, they attack when they should hide, and they keep changing their tactics without apparent reason." The Craxus command structure, so effective against conventional resistance, began to fracture under the strain of human unpredictability. Their hive mind advantage became a liability as confusion spread through their neural network. Alina and Neri worked from a mobile command center, coordinating the global response. "The Craxus expect us to either surrender or launch a decisive counterattack," Neri explained. "They don't understand warfare without clear objectives." "Then let's keep being incomprehensible," Alina replied. The turning point came 3 weeks into the invasion. Craxus forces, frustrated by their inability to secure objectives, consolidated around major population centers, preparing for a coordinated final assault. This concentration of forces was exactly what humanity had been waiting for. Dr. Rodriguez's neural disruptor was ready, an intricate device that generated a specific frequency pattern designed to overload the Craxus neural network. The challenge was delivering it to the heart of the Craxus command structure. "We need to get this device onto Verox's flagship," Alina said. "Their entire command structure flows from him." "Impossible," General Williams stated flatly. "Their orbital defenses would destroy any approaching craft." Neri's skin pulsed thoughtfully. "Unless we don't approach as an enemy." The plan that emerged was audacious to the point of insanity. Using salvaged Craxus technology, engineers modified a commercial space shuttle to emit the signature of a damaged Craxus scout ship. Alina and Neri would pilot it, broadcasting a distress signal using Craxus protocols. "This is beyond risky," General Williams objected. "It's suicide." "The Craxus value efficiency above all else," Neri countered. "They won't destroy a vessel that might provide useful resources or intelligence." 24 hours later, Alina found herself in space, approaching the massive Craxus flagship. The disguised shuttle shuddered as it entered the tractor beam that pulled them toward the docking bay. "Remember," Neri whispered as they prepared to be boarded, "Craxus never expect internal threats. Their entire security system is designed to repel external attacks." The moment the shuttle doors opened, they activated Dr. Rodriguez's device. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Kraxis soldiers who had come to investigate collapsed, their neural systems overwhelmed by the carefully calibrated disruption pattern. As the signal propagated through the ship, more Kraxis fell. Elena and Neri moved quickly through the corridors, heading for the central command hub where they would amplify the signal to reach the entire fleet. They found Admiral Verox himself on the command deck, surrounded by incapacitated officers. Unlike his subordinates, the Admiral remained standing, though clearly struggling against the neural disruption. "You?" he hissed upon seeing Neri. "A Lumidarian. I thought your kind extinct." "Not all of us," Neri replied, adjusting the disruptor to maximum output. Verox staggered but remained conscious through sheer will. "This trick won't stop the Empire. We have conquered for 15 millennia. We are inevitable." Elena stepped forward. "That's where you're wrong, Admiral. Nothing is inevitable except change. You've dominated because species fought you the way you expected. Humanity doesn't play by your rules." "What are you?" Verox demanded, his composure fracturing. "We're human," Elena answered simply. "We're messy, chaotic, and creative. We try the impossible because we don't know any better. And today, we're the species that broke your unbeaten streak." With a final adjustment, Neri amplified the disruptor signal, broadcasting it to every Kraxis ship in orbit. The effect cascaded through their neural network, temporarily paralyzing their entire command structure. From Earth, the defense forces launched their coordinated counterattack, not with planet-destroying weapons, but with thousands of small automated craft carrying neural disruptors and advanced computer viruses. They infiltrated the immobilized Kraxis ships, permanently disabling weapons systems and engines. Within hours, the mighty Kraxis invasion force was neutralized. For the first time in the Empire's 15,000-year history, they had been defeated, not by superior firepower, but by human ingenuity and unpredictability. 3 months later, the solar system had changed dramatically. The captured Kraxis ships, repurposed by Earth engineers, now formed a defensive perimeter. Representatives from 24 formerly subjugated species had arrived, eager to learn how humanity had accomplished the impossible. In a repurposed conference room at the United Nations, Elena sat beside Neri as they addressed the Galactic delegation. "Admiral Verox and his officers have been contained," she reported. "From the data in their ships, we now understand the full extent of the Kraxis Empire and its vulnerabilities." A tall, crystalline being, the ambassador from a system called Rigel, spoke. "What the humans have accomplished in defeating one fleet is remarkable, but the Kraxis Empire controls half the galaxy. They will return with greater force." "We're counting on it," General Williams replied with a grim smile. "We've transmitted the specifications for our neural disruptors to resistance cells throughout Kraxis territory. The Empire is already facing revolts on 17 worlds." Furthermore, Neri added, "We've identified the quantum frequency that links their neural network. We can now target their command structure across vast distances." The Rigelian ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been skepticism. "You suggest that your species, confined to one world, with technology millennia behind the Kraxis, can challenge an empire that has conquered thousands of worlds." Elena smiled. "With respect, Ambassador, that's exactly what we're suggesting. The Kraxis have dominated because they've never faced an adversary that thinks differently. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our diversity of thought. We don't follow predictable patterns. We improvise, we create, we try the impossible." And sometimes, Neri added, his skin glowing with vibrant patterns, "the impossible works." As the Galactic delegates debated the formation of a unified resistance, Elena stepped outside onto the UN building's balcony. The night sky was different now. Knowing what existed among those distant stars changed everything. Humanity had faced its first cosmic challenge and emerged not just surviving, but victorious. The galaxy had lived in fear for 15,000 years under Craxus' dominion. But now, impossibly, hope was spreading across the stars, sparked by a species the Empire had dismissed as primitive. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as liberators. The war was far from over, but for the first time in millennia, its outcome was no longer inevitable. Sometimes, Elena reflected as she gazed upward, the universe needed a little human chaos.